Hi, my name's Alison and I love to read. Thank you for joining me today. To do for a long time now. I had a bit of a break from reading and recently just got back into it and realised just how much I actually missed it. I do have a Bookstagram account called Alison Loves to Read, so please take a look over that, and that goes back over a couple of years of what I have read in the past and which bookshops I love and what I've been to and what I've been up to. But thank you so much, and so grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and we'll get started. I think I'm going to do this. I'll begin by showing you what I've recently read in September so far, what I'm reading at the moment, and then I'll go on to recent acquisitions of where I've purchased, of some books that I've purchased recently. By no means is this going to be a professional video. I'm not very good at editing, and so I'm afraid it's all going to be rather raw, but I'll do my best and we'll see how we get on. So anyway, I'd like to start today. I've recently finished the book, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Now, I've watched the film time and time again, and I absolutely love it. I picked this book. I've never actually read the book until, as I say, end of August. I finished it at the beginning of September, and although the book is, although the film, is based on the book, it is rather different. A lot of the characters are very, very similar and they have the same names, but there's a lot more characters in the book than there are in the film. Even though the author doesn't touch on them that often, they are still there in the background, and the actual plot is slightly different. It is quite different. So it was good to read this, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did enjoy it as much as the film, so I'm so glad that I did read it. So yeah, but we all know about the exotic Marigold Hotel, so I won't tell you too well. No need to tell you much about it because you no doubt already know. But as I say, the film is very loosely based on the book. It does go more into the characters' lives before they actually move out to the retirement home in India. It goes into more detail of why they're going out there as well. Characters are saying very, very similar, but there are more characters in the book and the plot is a little bit different. But thoroughly recommend that. And yes, that was the first one that I finished in September. I'll just have a sip of my tea. I've got my tea today in my Kew Gardens, Botanic Gardens Kew. Is it Botanic Gardens Kew? Excuse me. Yeah, Botanic Gardens Kew teacup. I should have to. Now, if you hear some strange noises, I do have dogs. I've got a dog at my feet at the moment, Harvey, and so if you hear lots of sniffing around and clipping of paws on the floor, then that's what it is. So I do apologise. Now the second book that I finished is what you've probably all heard of already, and it's The Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. This is a fantastic little read. I did it in about 3 evenings. It's a lovely story. I'll just read the back of it, just in case you haven't heard of it before, but I'm sure you have. From the beginning of summer to early spring, I lived at the Morisaki Bookshop. I spent that period of my life in the spare room on the second floor of the store, trying to bury myself in books. That cramped room barely got any light and everything felt damp. It smelled constantly of musty old books. But I will always remember the days I spent there, because that's where my real life began. And I know without a doubt that if not for those days, the rest of my life would have been bland, monotonous and lonely. The Morisaki Bookshop is precious to me, and it's a place I know I'll never forget. So I recently picked this up in Waterstones in Edinburgh. I bought this copy and also bought the next one in the series as well. So that's the second one in the series. I'm not going to read that one straight away. I thought I'd read perhaps a book or two before I go on to that one. But I really did love this. It's a brilliant little story. It's only just been recently translated from Japanese. And yeah, it's a great little read. It's lovely. If you like anything to do with bookshops, libraries, coffee shops, then this is the book. This is the book for you. It's lovely. It doesn't. There's not a great plot in there or anything like that. It's you know, it's not one of these books where you've got to turn the page to see what's happening next. I didn't find that with it, but it was just a nice comfort read. And thoroughly recommend it. And the cover as well, I don't know if you can see it, it actually shines there. And I know you should never judge a book by its cover, but I'm afraid I just saw the cover, thought, yes, I've got to have that. So that was that. So that was the second book that I read. The third book that I finished was Cut In for Stone by Abraham Verghese. Now this book, it did take me a while to get through it. I did start it back, I think it was the beginning of August, but I was quite busy. It took me a while to get into it. It is a fantastic book. I definitely recommend it. In the second half, it does kind of slog on a bit, and it's a fantastic book. It's set in Ethiopia. It's about a nun that travels to Ethiopia to work, and she's working in a hospital with Thomas Stone, and they build up a relationship, and she ends up giving birth to twins. So Thomas Stone, she's having difficulties, and Thomas Stone is operating to try and save the twins. Unfortunately, the mother dies, and Thomas Stone is devastated, and I think he believes it's all his fault, and he has to leave, and he leaves immediately before the operation has been is finished, and the two boys are safe. It's a story about the two boys growing up, and about how their lives go right through up until into their 30s. It's a fantastic book. It really is. The only thing that I didn't enjoy about it, and this is just me, I don't like anything too squeamish. I don't like things to do with hospitals and operations and that kind of thing. And this is set in two different hospitals. And Thomas Stone, he performs obviously these operations, and the author goes into an awful lot of details. The author is a surgeon himself, so he does go into an awful lot of graphic details of how he performs surgery and things like that, into great detail. So I found myself not really wanting to read in depth into that. So I ended up skipping a few paragraphs throughout the book, just so that I didn't have to read it. But apart from that, thoroughly recommend it. Do love it. It's a great story. But I'll just read you the blurb on the back. My brother Shiva and I came into the world in the late afternoon of the 20th of September in the year of our grace, 1954. We took our first breaths in the thin air of Addis Ababa, capital city of Ethiopia. Bound by birth, we were driven apart by bitter betrayal. No surgeon can heal the wound that divides two brothers where silk and steel fail. Story must succeed. So yeah, and then I actually went on to YouTube, and Abraham Verghese was actually doing a talk on the book, so you can actually go on YouTube and find that, and and just watch that before you read the book. But it is a good book. Thoroughly recommend it. I don't think I would read it again, but that's just because it was rather medical, and I'm not into that kind of thing. But the actual the storyline is absolutely fantastic. It really is. and you don't really find out about just how the mother of the boys actually became, well, obviously we know how she became pregnant, but we don't know the circumstances behind it right until the very end, and it's all revealed in a letter that hasn't been found for years, and then suddenly this letter appears, and they finally find out just why and how. Well, we know how, as I say. Just we found out how she circumstances come that she's actually managed to get pregnant. So anyway, so that's a good book. So I thoroughly recommend again that. So they're the three that I've actually finished reading so far in September. Just started reading Yours Cheerfully by A.J. Pearce. I did want to read the one before this, and I know it's a really popular book, but I did want to read Dear Mrs. Bird beforehand, but I couldn't find a copy and I wanted to get started. I don't know why. Sometimes I get into my head, I want to read a book and I have to read it now. And so I thought, well, I'll read Yours Cheerfully first, and then I'll go back and read Dear Mrs. Bird. But yeah, it's I've only got to what chapter am I on? Chapter 4. So I've only just started, but I'm really enjoying that already. I'm sure most of you know about it already. London, September 1941. Following the departure of the formidable editor, Mrs. Henrietta Bird, things are looking up for Emmeline Lake at Women's Friends magazine. And while the war rages on, Emmy is even firmer than she must do all she can do to help on the home front. As ever, she is determined to make a go of it. When the Ministry of Information calls on Britain's women's magazines to help recruit female supporters to the war effort, Emmy is thrilled to be asked to help. But when she and best friend Bronte meet a young woman who knows them the real challenges that women war workers face, Emmy must tackle a life-changing dilemma. Should she carry out her duty or stand by her new friends? So really looking forward to reading a bit more of that. The other book that I'm reading at the moment is Bookworm by Lucy Mangan, and it's a memoir of childhood reading. Now this book, at the moment, it's the book of the month for the Comfort Book Club. That's run by Miranda Mills and her mother, and so I mean, this is the type of book that I would not normally pick up. I don't usually read memoirs, and I don't think I would have picked up this at all, but I'm so glad that she recommended it. It's a fantastic book. I'm really enjoying it so far, and Lucy Mangan goes right back in her childhood. She's slightly younger than what I am, and she's roughly read kind of all the same books that I did as a child, and she's talking about them and really bringing back some wonderful memories of the books that I've read in the past. So I'm really enjoying this. We've got until I think the end of September to read it. So far I haven't got too much through. I'm sort of like that much through, so I've got quite a bit to read, and I've been reading this before I go to bed in the evening. I've been reading it in bed, so I haven't read too much, so I will have to crack on with it, but it's lovely. So when Lucy Mangan was little, she was whisked away to Narnia and Kirin Island and Wonderland. She ventured down rabbit holes and womble burrows, into midnight gardens and chocolate factories. She wandered the countryside with Millie Molly Mandy, who was a real favourite of mine, and played by the tracks with the railway children. With Charlotte's Web, which was the first proper book that I ever read, she discovered death, and with Judy Blume it was boys. No wonder she only left the house for a weekly trip to the library or to spend her pocket money on amassing her own at home. In Bookworm, Lucy revisits her childhood, reading with wit, love and gratitude. She relives our best beloved books, their extraordinary creators, and looks at the thousand subtle ways they shape our lives. She also disinters a few forgotten treasures to inspire the next generation of bookworms and set them on their way. Lucy brings the favourite characters of our collective childhoods back to life, prompting endless rereadings, rediscoveries and inevitably fierce debate, and brilliantly uses them to tell her own story, that of a born and unrepentant bookworm. So yeah, so definitely enjoying that one, and can't wait. Looking forward to reading some more of that. And again, it's a lovely cover on there. I must have another sip of my tea. Do excuse me a moment. It's going cold. So the next books that I'm going to show you, these are ones that I've picked up recently. I think they're all charity shops and second-hand bookshops that I got them from. I never pay very much for a book, certainly no more than £5. But the first book I want to show you, it's called The Midnight Forest by Norah Burke. I do like reading books on wildlife and animals. And this book I picked up in a local charity shop. I paid £5 for it, and I'll just read you what it says inside the front cover. To get wild animals within stroking distance, to follow their lives, to learn their language, it is necessary to visit them alone by moonlight. Night after night, the Midnight Forest is the true account of such an adventure. It contains new discoveries about wild animals and new theories about their behaviour. But above all, it is the story of the deer, foxes, badgers and birds of the forest through the worst winter ever recorded in the British Isles. It is a story of one family of badgers, Hans, Gretel and their cubs, Pip and Emma, and of a family of roe deer, all of whom were known closely and individually to the author, and to whom she in her turn was perhaps known. Readers will remember Miss Burke's recent travel book, 11 Leopards, A Journey Through the Jungles of Ceylon, and her other books including King Todd, The Story of a Wild Badger. Her work has been published and broadcast in 25 countries. So Norah Burke spent her childhood in the jungles of India, where her father was a forest officer. The Burke family moved from camp to camp on tame elephants and were often 100 miles or more from civilization. That early life in jungle that was inhabited by wild elephants, tigers, panthers, bears and monkeys and many other creatures, as well as countless brilliant birds, has influenced all Norah Burke's life and writing. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Originally it cost 30 shillings, and just trying to think when it was published. 1966. Yeah. So it has got some photographs inside. I do like it when you get photographs inside. So, and these are the photographs that Norah Burke took. So yeah, it's a lovely book, and I think I'm going to save this for reading over the winter, as it's set in the winter. Yeah. So really pleased with that. That's The Midnight Forest by Norah Burke. I also picked up a copy of Villette by Charlotte Bronte, which I've never read. I've never kind of read that many, I've read a few classics, but not many. So I thought that I would really try and get into reading some classics. And I just like the cover on this. This is a Regent Classics. And I thought it'd be really nice if I could look out and get a few in the series. But of course, yeah, we all know about Charlotte Bronte. I paid £5 from that one as well. Okay. I also picked up Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. We all know Mansfield Park. And again, I just kind of, the cover was a little bit grotty, but I just did it with a damp cloth. I did it with some anti-back spray because it was pretty grotty. It's come up beautifully, actually. It's nothing wrong with that at all. And I've seen some of these on eBay and Amazon for sale. And I just like the covers on these as well. I thought again maybe I could perhaps look out for some and collect them. But of course we know Mansfield Park, so I don't have to say much about Jane Austen and that one. But yeah, so that's another nice book. Now that's it was published by, I think it was a book club. So I don't know if I'm going to find the other ones. Okay, I have seen some, so hopefully I'll be able to find some and start collecting those. Alexander McCall Smith, I believe he lives in Edinburgh, which is just up the road from me. I have read The Ladies' #1 Detective Agency and absolutely love that. So this is another one which is a spin-off from the series. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Blue Shoes and Happiness. Yeah, so that's another one that I'm going to be looking forward to reading. The Adventures and Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. Pick that one up. This edition of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes contains the earliest cases of the greatest fictional detective of all time. It comprises the complete adventures of Sherlock Holmes, newly reprinted from the original text of the Strand magazine. It is illustrated by Sidney Paget, the finest of illustrators and the man from whom our images of Sherlock Holmes and his world derive. This is the first of 3 volumes of the complete Sherlock Holmes, and 3 books present all the Holmes stories arranged chronologically in order of first publication. So I thought that was quite a good one for me to pick up, because I do like a Sherlock Holmes. And yeah, and that's another reason why I liked it, because it does have these illustrations in there, which is great. I just love an illustration. I don't know. It's not that I don't have any imagination, so I can't imagine what they would like themselves, but I just like them. And that's a Wordsworth classic, of course. So really looking forward to reading that. Jane Austen's Selected Letters. I've read a couple of Jane Austen novels, but that's about it. So I thought this would be really interesting. Letter writing was something of addiction of young women of Jane Austen's time and social position. And Austen's letters have a freedom and familiarity that only intimate writing can convey. Wiser than her critics, who were disappointed that her correspondence dwelt on gossip and the minutiae, is that how you say it? Minutiae of everyday living, Austen understood the importance of little matters, of the emotional and material detail of individuals' lives shared with friends and family through the medium of the letter. Ironic, always entertaining, Jane Austen's letters are a fascinating record not only of her own day-to-day existence, but of the pleasures and frustrations experienced by women of her social class, which are so central to her novels. Vivian Jones' selection includes very nearly 2/3 of Austen's surviving correspondence, and her lively introduction and notes set the novelist's most private writings in their wider cultural context. Again, I know you shouldn't judge a book by the cover, but I do like the cover on this one. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward. I think this one I should probably read at bedtime in the evenings. It looks really good. I'm really looking forward to reading that. I'm so glad I found that one. Now, The Lady of the Manse by Lavinia Derwent. I know that's just her pen name. Now, I live in the Scottish borders, and this book is based in Scottish borders. It's about a young girl. Well, I'll just read it to you. Young girls, especially those brought up on a farm, aren't usually expected to act as Lady of the Manse. But when Lavinia Derwent's elder brother Henry took up a ministry in Berwickshire, she was suddenly catapulted into a startlingly different world. Part skivvy, part genteel lady, mixing with the local aristocracy, Lavinia finds herself at one moment running like a hare along draughty passages, trying to be in two places at once, and with her hands covered in flour and whether or not the soup is going to boil over, and next having to be president of the Women's Guild. Whether she is entertaining the brethren of the local kirk, or supporting Wee Woolley and his sister Uannette, or placating the local mad mare, Lavinia keeps both her head and her sense of humour, and the result is a delightful feast of nostalgia. So I love these kind of nostalgic reads, and even more so that it is set locally. She actually lived, I think it was about 4 or 5 miles from Jedburgh, which is about 10 miles from me. So I think it's always nice to have some kind of connection with the books. Now, I don't know if you would class them as adult books or not. I haven't started reading it yet, but again, they come with illustrations, which is nice. They're only, not going to take very long to read. I got it from a second-hand bookshop in Berwick, and he did have the whole set. I shouldn't really have picked this one up. I should have picked up, of course, the first one, Breath of Border Air, but I picked this up actually because I thought it was set in a particular place that I wanted to actually read about, but it isn't. It doesn't actually tell you where, which village it is based on, but yeah. So I think I'll read this, and if I really enjoy it, then I'll go back and I'll buy all the others, because they was like £3 each. So yeah, £3. So I'm really excited about reading that. I think that's going to be my next read. I'm pretty sure of it. I then picked up The Shell Seekers by Rosamund Pilcher, and I've never read this before. Was it on the TV at some point? I don't know. If somebody could let me know, I'd really like to know if it has been on the TV or if it was a film. I kind of think it was, but I'm not sure. I haven't really read much of Rosamund Pilcher either. Since I've been getting back into reading, I'm really trying to explore authors that I haven't read their books before. So I'm looking forward to this as well. If you've read The Shell Seekers, please let me know below and tell me what you thought about it. I'm really looking forward to that. Artist's daughter Penelope Keeling can look back on a full and varied life, a bohemian childhood in London and Cornwall, an unhappy wartime marriage, and the one man she truly loved. She has brought up 3 children and learned to accept each of them as they are. Yet she is far too energetic and independent to settle sweetly into pensioned off old age. And when she discovers that her most treasured possession, her father's painting, The Shell Seekers, is now worth a small fortune, it is Penelope who must make the decisions that will determine whether her family can continue to survive as a family or be split apart. So, looking forward to reading that one. Another one that I've never read the book, but I've watched the film, and that's 84 Charing Cross Road. Yes, so we all know about that story. It's just basically letters backwards and forwards from a lady living in the States to a bookshop in London at 84 Charing Cross Road. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I remember the film vaguely. and does she not come? She visits from America and turns up at 84 Charing Cross Road. Is that correct? I don't know. So I'm looking forward to reading this, and you know, I might try and see if I can watch the film again if it's available to watch. So that's another one I'm looking forward to. Now this one I'm really looking forward to. I found this in an Oxfam bookshop, and I think it's going to be a really fun read. Very, very short. It's called The Uncommon Reader. It's by Alan Bennett, and it's basically about the Queen and her new love of books and reading. And it takes her away from her duties, and she's getting in a bit of trouble about it. So I'm quite excited about reading this. And the lady in the shop, when she served me, she said, "Oh, I love that book." She says it's absolutely brilliant. I don't know if it was her book and she donated it, or whether or not she read it before putting it on the shelves. But led by her yapping corgis to the Westminster Travelling Library outside Buckingham Palace, the Queen finds herself taking out a novel by Ivy Compton Burnett. Duff read though it is, the following week her choice proves more enjoyable and awakens in Her Majesty a passion for reading so great that her public duties begin to suffer. And so as she devours work by everyone from Hardy to Bruckner to Proust to Beckett, her equerries conspire to bring the Queen's literary odyssey to a close. A gloriously entertaining comic narrative, it is also much more a deadly serious manifesto for the potential of reading to change lives. Now I'm sure in real life the Queen had read many, many books. I'm sure she had. But it's going to be a fun read, and really looking forward to reading that. I picked up a copy of Little Women. I have read this before, but many, many years ago when I was a child. I haven't read it as an adult, and I just thought this was a pretty copy to pick up. So yeah, so that's it's a Penguin V&A copy. I don't know if there's any illustrations in it. No. There was another copy I was going to pick up. I can't remember who the publishers were, but the writing was really tiny, and I thought, you know what, it just makes sense to pick up this. It's probably a children's copy, more for children, because the writing, you can't really see there, but the writing's quite a bit bigger. But I just thought it looked nice, and yeah, that's that. And the last one, which I've got to tell you about, I don't know if any of you have read it, and if you have, please let me know what you think about it. And it sounds fantastic. And it's the Chilbury Ladies Choir by Jennifer Ryan. It's a lovely cover as well. Yes, I'm really looking forward to this. I love these nostalgic kind of books set during wartime. Kent, 1940. In the idyllic village of Chilbury, change is afoot. Hearts are breaking as sons and husbands leave to fight, and when the vicar decides to close the choir until the men return, all seems lost. But coming together in song is just what the women of Chilbury need in these dark hours, and they are ready to sing. With a little fighting spirit and the arrival of new musical resident, the charismatic Miss Primrose Trent, the choir is reborn. Some see the choir as a chance to forget their troubles, others the chance to shine. Though one villager, the choir is the perfect cover to destroy Chilbury's newfound harmony. Uplifting and profoundly moving, the Chilbury Ladies Choir explores how a village can endure the onslaught of war, how monumental history affects small lives, and how survival is as much about friendship as it is about courage. So, yeah, so really looking forward to reading that. And as I say, please let me know if you've already read that. I know you can get it out on audiobook as well, so maybe you've listened to it. And that was just £1. So it just goes to show you can pick up some really good reads, and even if you don't want to spend a lot of money, which is great. I'm really looking forward to that. So what do I choose first? I'm spoilt for choice. I'm really lucky to have been able to pick up these books. So that's it, but thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you've been here since the beginning. If you made it this far, well done. And yeah, so please like and subscribe. I would love it if you did, and that would encourage me to perhaps do some more videos. I will definitely be back to do some more. I don't know when, perhaps 2-3 weeks, something like that. Depends how much time I've got. But thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Please comment down below. Tell me what you're reading at the moment and books that you've read this September. And perhaps you could also recommend me some books as well. That would be fantastic. Please like and subscribe, as I say, that would be wonderful as well. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.